Welcome back to Nolan's Cookery channel. In this video I'm demonstrating how to make cheese and onion triangles. It's a tasty snack, useful for lunch boxes, or could be put together with salad and so on as part of a meal. It consists of a shortcrust pastry that's cut into squares and then folded into triangles, filled with a tasty cheese and onion filling. To make these cheese and onion triangles, I need 100 grams of plain flour and 50 grams of fat. That needs to be cold, hard fat straight from the fridge, not spreadable, because we're going to rub it in. Now that fat could be 50 grams, of which 25 grams would be butter and 25 grams would be white fat like lard or Trex, or it can be 100% butter or margarine. Butter will give flavour and colour to the dish, and the white fat will help to provide extra shortening, crumbliness to the pasties, to the pastry. But it is possible to make it with 100% butter, so that will actually help to shorten it and make the pastry crumbly anyway. You also need cold water to bind the pastry, and the filling consists of 50 grams of grated cheese. Now I've got a low fat, a reduced fat cheddar here, but it could be any other cheese as well, red Leicester or just plain cheddar. I'm also going to use half an onion chopped and a sprinkle of paprika and some mixed herbs to add flavour. You could vary the filling by introducing ham or some bacon, or you could use very finely chopped pepper. To make the shortcrust pastry, I've sieved the flour into a bowl, and I'm going to cut the butter up with a knife into chunks, like so, because that will help to rub it in if it's not in one large lump. To rub the fat into the flour, you use the money move. That's the thumb and fingers moving backwards and forwards across the fingertips. All right, so thumb moving backwards and forwards across the fingertips and picking the flour up. So rubbing the fat into the flour like so until it resembles breadcrumbs. So you just keep going. If you've got naturally warm hands, run cold water over the back of your wrist. That will cause your hands to cool down a little bit quicker. And don't over rub. So if it starts to clump together before it even shows a resemblance of breadcrumbs, either the fat was too soft when you started, or your hands have actually warmed the fat and made it very difficult to handle. So just keep going, shake the bowl, bring the larger lumps to the surface and continue rubbing in. When rubbed into fine breadcrumbs, like so it just looks very crumb-like, you can then add the cold water. So using a palette knife, make a well in the centre. Don't add too much water all at once. Different flours have different absorbencies, so it's best not to actually over add liquid. Also, the amount of liquid you need to add is very much dependent upon the surrounding atmospheric conditions. So it may well be that you need less on a moist, humid day compared with a dry, very hot, sunny, dry day. So just keep adding until you form a ball. Once you reach this sort of stage where it's really starting to clump together, you can then put your fingers in and use your fingers to actually pull it together into a ball of dough. So just use your fingers to press it and pull it against the side of the bowl, and you should find that it cleans the bowl of any pastry ingredients, and that's the right consistency. So it's not wet and sloppy, it's just fine, soft to the touch, but not wet. At this stage, you can pat the pastry into a rectangular shape and then just wrap it lightly and put it in the fridge to relax and chill. Once it's had a chance to chill, you can roll the pastry out onto a lightly floured surface making sure to keep the pastry moving. Keep your rolling pin dusted with flour as well. So to roll, keep moving, keep turning. Start in the middle, roll forward, then roll back, then turn. Keep it shaped nicely against the side of your hand, and that will help to keep it square. You want to roll it until it's 1/2 centimetre thick. Once rolled into a square that's big enough, you can use your rolling pin as a steady straight edge, like a ruler, and then cut the edge of the pastry off all round the 4 edges. Applying firm pressure to avoid ripping the edges of the pastry. And when you get to this stage, you can just use your rolling pin to divide the pastry up into 4. I'm cutting with my palette knife directly onto the worktop because the palette knife is perfectly safe to use. It's not going to cause damage on the worktop. Okay. And then we're ready to transfer that onto the baking tray and start putting the filling in. The pastry, transfer the pastry onto your baking tray. Now, if you've done a really good roll in terms of your square, you'll find that it will fold in half and make a good triangular shape. So I've got my pastry going onto a baking tray that's been prepared with baking parchment held down by a little bit of oil to stick it to the tray, and then brush the outside edges of the pastry with egg. This will help seal it and act as a glue. Once you've brushed the edges of each of the squares with egg, you can then put your filling in. Now that filling is just 50 grams of grated cheese mixed with half an onion that's been chopped finely. I've added a sprinkling of mixed herbs and some cayenne pepper just to bring out the flavour of the cheese. You don't want too much filling on each square because it will burst as you're trying to shape your triangle. Once the filling's on, you can then pull very carefully the pastry over to make the edges meet. Like so. If you notice, the filling's gone from corner to corner diagonally across the middle so that I've got enough room to bring the pastry over and seal it around the edges. And then go round the edge with a fork to press it down. Any filling that manages to escape, you just rearrange that, and then flute the edges as well for a fancy edge. Now you're trying for consistency. You're producing a batch of cheese and onion triangles, so you want them to be triangular shaped. You want them to be as consistent as possible from one to the other. So same sort of shape, same size, not overfill so that they burst, etc. With the edges well sealed. And if you notice, I've gone around with a fork, and I've also crimped them as well with my fingers just to add an added effect. Now I have leftover pastry, so what I will do with that is actually roll that out and create leaves. To create the leaves, I just cut the pastry into strips and then cut diamond shapes out of the pastry. sort of aiming for about 3 leaves per triangle. To make the leaf, you just cut it like so, and then you can score the top. And then apply them to the top of the triangle by brushing the surface with egg, glazing them to make sure that they are well sealed. An egg wash will actually help them go really golden brown, and then place the leaves on top like so to add a different effect. Now that's how you would skill. You can show off your pastry skills by producing shapes like this and decorating. Okay, and brush that with egg as well. Once they're shaped and glazed with egg, they can go in the oven. That would be on 180 degrees, gas mark 4, for 20 minutes until they're golden in colour and firm, set firm, and the pastry is cooked all over with no oily patches. After 20 minutes, when they come out of the oven, what you're looking for is some golden brown pastry that's firm to the touch, but also when you flip it over and look at the other side, you can see that there's no oily patches and it's firm on the other side as well. So they can be transferred then to a plate for serving, or to a lunchbox. It's a nice tasty treat in a lunchbox, makes a change from sandwiches. And there we are, 4 tasty cheese and onion triangles. Obviously, if you're catering for more, you can double the pastry ingredients and double the filling ingredients. But don't forget that the egg wash, so a beaten egg or a beaten egg mixed with a little milk, is by far the best glaze for pastry dishes. It gives you that nice golden effect across the top. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you'll be notified of any other videos when I add them. Enjoy your cheese and onion triangles.